Good evening, everyone. We're just hours removed from President Trump's first address to a joint session of Congress, a speech that many analysts are calling a significant departure from his usual, shall we say, unconventional style. Tonight we'll break down the key moments, the policy pronouncements, and the overall tone that has so many people talking. Did President Trump pivot to a more presidential demeanor, or was this just a temporary shift? We'll examine the evidence. We'll also hear from both sides of the political aisle, as Democrats and Republicans weigh in on the president's vision for the country. In today's video, we're breaking down the 5 key takeaways from President Trump's record-setting speech to Congress. Let's dive right in. First takeaway. From the moment President Trump stepped to the podium, there was a noticeable shift in his demeanor. Gone were the fiery campaign trail pronouncements, replaced by a more measured, even somber tone at times. This wasn't lost on anyone watching. Pundits and politicians alike, even some of the president's most vocal critics, acknowledged the difference. The question is, was this a calculated attempt to reach across the aisle and project an image of unity, or was it simply the weight of the office settling in? The answer, as with most things in Washington, is likely somewhere in between. But one thing is for sure, the president seemed to grasp the gravity of the moment, and he delivered a speech designed to reassure, if not entirely unite, a deeply divided nation. Second takeaway, jobs, jobs, jobs. As he did throughout the campaign, President Trump put the economy front and center in his speech, hammering home the need for job creation and economic growth. He touted the rising stock market as an early indicator of success, while also promising tax cuts and regulatory reform to unleash what he called American entrepreneurial spirit. The president also made a full-throated call for massive investments in infrastructure, a promise that drew bipartisan applause. Rebuilding America's roads, bridges, and airports has long been a talking point for both parties, and it remains to be seen if the president can actually deliver on this ambitious goal. But for one night at least, the focus was on optimism, on the possibility of a revitalized American economy firing on all cylinders. Whether that vision becomes a reality remains to be seen. Takeaway number 3, healthcare, repeal and replace. But how? The Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as it's more commonly known, was once again a flashpoint in the president's speech. He reiterated his pledge to repeal and replace the law, calling it a disaster that has burdened families and businesses with skyrocketing costs. However, the president offered few concrete details on what a replacement plan would actually look like. He spoke in broad strokes about increasing choice and competition in the healthcare marketplace, but he stopped short of outlining a specific legislative path forward. This lack of detail left many wondering if the president has a viable plan to replace the Affordable Care Act, or if this is another case of campaign rhetoric bumping up against the realities of governing. Takeaway number 4, immigration, a hard line and a softer tone. Immigration, an issue that was central to President Trump's campaign, also featured prominently in his address to Congress. He reiterated his commitment to building a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, a promise that drew cheers from his supporters and groans from his detractors. However, the president also struck a somewhat softer tone on immigration than he has in the past. He spoke about the need for a merit-based immigration system that would prioritize skilled workers, and he even expressed openness to working with Democrats on comprehensive immigration reform. This apparent softening of his stance on immigration, however slight, took many by surprise. It remains to be seen if it represents a genuine shift in policy or simply a tactical maneuver to broaden his appeal. Fifth takeaway, military might, peace through strength. President Trump concluded his address with a familiar theme, the need for a strong national defense. He called for a great rebuilding of the American military, promising increased spending, new equipment, and a renewed commitment to projecting American power around the globe. This hawkish rhetoric played well with his base, but it also raised concerns about reigniting a global arms race and potentially entangling the U.S. in more foreign conflicts. The president's critics argue that diplomacy and international cooperation, not military might, are the keys to global security. The debate over the appropriate level of U.S. military involvement abroad is one that has raged for decades, and it's unlikely to be settled anytime soon. but President Trump made it clear that he intends to put America's military might front and center on the world stage. Finally, Trump's speech, a new chapter. Those were the 5 key takeaways from President Trump's speech to Congress. It was, by most accounts, a more measured and presidential address than we've come to expect from him. But the question remains, will this new tone last? Only time will tell if President Trump can translate his words into action, and if he can bridge the deep partisan divide that exists in Washington. One thing is for sure, though, last night's speech was a significant moment in his young presidency, and it will have lasting implications for the country and the world. What did you think of his address? Did it change your mind about President Trump or his policies? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.